What does it really mean to love someone unconditionally, including yourself? It's not what you think. Hi, I'm Emily, and welcome to my channel. Valentine's Day is upon us, basically. And so now I just want to go over like love and self love and relationships and like what that means. So let's get into it. I just want to redefine unconditional love. This doesn't mean putting, someone else's needs first before your own at the expense of your own energy and your time and just like and if it especially if it brings you down. It's accepting others the way they are no matter what. That means in all forms, like without trying to change them or fix them or make them in the way that you want them to be. And it's just like while establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries for yourself. So I completely understand that it's very difficult sometimes to accept people the way they are no matter what. Because, there's always something that you're like, God, I wish they were about more like this, or I wish they didn't do that, or, and just like, and it's so easy to get caught up in, what they're doing. And so one way that I feel is the easier way to not do that to someone else is to work on yourself always. And so like work on your self-care. Work on like how to love yourself, embracing yourself fully, your dark and your light. Because if you embrace yourself fully and love yourself fully, whatever that person does is not going to really affect you or trigger you or make you react. And so, I mean, yeah, of course, you can fall back into it. I do it all the time, but I started learning that when I started really taking responsibility for how I'm being, like who I'm being, and what I want to be, like I just started realizing that, like, me, let's say, trying to nag my husband to do something, or like, why didn't you do blah 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 blah? And it's like that doesn't get anywhere. It just puts him down, and it's not workable in the relationship. And I still fall back into that, but I'm working on it. And I know like if I continue to work on myself and like the way I want to be and how I want to treat others in just love and accepting, then it's much easier for me to just let him be the way he's going to be. And I'm not perfect, but I'm just doing the best that I can. But I do know like if you work on yourself, it's so much easier to accept people the way they are, because then you're secure with yourself and you don't have to sit there and try to change something. You actually look at the beauty of how unique and different we all are. Because you don't want somebody to be the same way you are. That'd be boring. And so it's just like we all have our unique traits and uniqueness. And it's just, I think it's so much more beautiful when we all have like all these differences. And we all are brought up differently. We're not brought up in the same household, so it's like we're gonna have different backgrounds and like programming from our past, and it's just like, or traumas or pains. And so or we may have some similarities, but you don't want to be the same person. And it's just like that would be so boring if everyone was alike. And so I think society tries to make us either, one way or the other. And it's just, and or other people try to force each other into being, the way that they want them to be or they expect them to be. And it just doesn't work. And if you want like a happy relationships, then you need to work on yourself. And that's the most important. And it's taken me a long time to get here. And I still fall back into my shit sometimes, or it's like into my past of like, well, he's going to do this and I don't want him to do that. And, it's just, but it's literally like letting go and surrendering and just being comfortable fully with yourself. And this is tough because I'm very critical and of myself and hard on myself and very judgmental with myself sometimes and others. And I find that if you are judgmental with others, then it's an opportunity for me to, if I'm judgmental with someone, it's an opportunity for me to love something about myself that I don't like in someone else. Or because I mirror, someone else is mirroring what's inside me, if that makes sense. So if I'm judgmental, that means, if the person triggers me, that means they're probably being judgmental and critical as well. And because that triggers me, I need to look at that and look at myself first and be like, all right, I guess I'm judgmental. I need to work on that first in myself before I criticize someone else for something else. Because we're not perfect. We try to do the best that we can. And it's just like we have to remember that, when someone triggers us, we have to look at ourselves of like, is that from something in our past that caused us to react and go, whoa, I don't want to be back there again? Either like from childhood or something, and you're like, no, that's not going to happen again. If people are really nasty to you, maybe look at yourself and be like, are you nasty to other people at some point? Not all the time, but can you be nasty? Like, we all can be nasty to people at some point. So just look at it from like, just because you're not nasty all the time, but if somebody's nasty and you get triggered by that, just look at yourself and be like, okay, has there been at least one time you've been angry or nasty to someone else? Probably, yeah. So just think about that. And so it's just like, it's just so easy for us to put it onto somebody else. And we just have to keep looking at ourselves and truly love the inside of us. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just look at it as like, oh, okay, I can also get angry as well and snap. Like that doesn't make them any better or me any better. Like it's just something we all have to just be aware of. And you know yeah, so it's like just think about it as like it's some if something triggers you and someone else, look at yourself and be like, all right, if at one point, could I or have I done the same to someone else? And so just like try to put it in a different perspective, shift, and then it's like just begin to love yourself fully. Like we all had like anger, sadness, happiness, like frustration. We all, at one point were negative to someone or had some negative comment come out of our mouth. And so it's like we're not perfect. So just but at the same time, we are perfect because we are our own individual uniqueness, and it's so beautiful. And so it's just want you all to know that like that's super powerful to have that perspective shift. So the other thing with like unconditional love, like it's also knowing that like yes, accept people fully for the way they are, but if they are abusive to you, if they are mean to you, or if they are always negative to you or criticizing you or judging you all the time, and that's not something you want to be around, like set boundaries and be like, look, this is not, conducive to what I want in my life, and be okay with stepping away from that. And it's okay. Yes, love them for the way they are, but you don't have to sit there and take the shit from them or be around them. Just know that you have the ability to step out, but also have that love for somebody no matter what. Because they're probably dealing with their own crap, and maybe they aren't aware of the stuff that they're doing to you. Or maybe they are, and it's an anger reaction, and they just haven't learned how to, deal with it themselves. And sadly, you can't change or fix them. They have to want to take that action themselves. And so just know that like you do not have to like be in any relationship that is abusive, verbally or physically. I mean, I've been in uh an emotionally abusive relationship in the past, and I realized that like that didn't serve me because I didn't deserve that, and it was like I felt like I was gaslit. So it's like I just kept thinking like, oh, it's always my fault, it's always my fault. And I still fall back into that pattern because it's actually like a traumatic experience. 'Cause you always feel like it's your fault because that's how they portray it. And so it's just like, you it is not always your fault. And like if you have that, that feeling, and then it can be very traumatic, and it can be hard to break because it's like you need sometimes you need that like validation that you aren't always wrong, or the fact that like you start create affirmations for yourself like, I make the decisions that I need to for my life, and it's okay. And it's okay to, yeah, it's okay to, feel that in my body and like have those emotions that, of upset of like, I didn't understand what I did wrong, and what it probably, you probably didn't even do anything wrong. But yeah, it's a tangent. But I just want you all to know that like you all are so powerful, and it's just like you don't need to take anyone's shit basically, and like just accept people the way they are and leave it. Don't try to change them. It's not going to happen. Trust me. I've tried and it doesn't work, and you end up having like either resentment or the relationship can get really nasty, or you end up being like in a relationship without love, and that's not a life to live. Like, you all deserve true love, unconditional love of accepting someone no matter who they are and what they've done, and just like set your boundaries. Like, what are you, willing to, deal with, and what are you not willing to deal with in a relationship with someone? No one ever deserves ever to be abused in any way or harassed in any way. I just want you to know that. And with love in general, like, this doesn't mean that you always have to agree with the other person. You can agree to disagree with that person. Like, you all don't have to have the same beliefs or, ideals. Like, but if it comes to be like where it's too conflicting, then, maybe it's time to leave or switch, or, just have sit down and have a conversation and be like, all right, how can we compromise or something? And if they don't want to do that, then it's hard to say, but it's like sometimes it's not worth staying in a relationship like that. It's too tough, on the person. Or you just agree with each other that you kind of live your separate lives in a way, but and it's all like what you guys want to do. I understand if you have kids, like, that's a different story, and that's only what works for you guys, but it's just working things out with each other in conversation. In a way, there's no real perfect relationship, because like, I think the beauty and the perfection is in the imperfection, or the uniqueness that we all have. We all have different backgrounds, like I said, and it's just the ability to connect with people and have open minds, be open-minded about things, and just allowing people to just say what they think and not judge them and beat them up over it and be like, "Oh, hey, like, oh, you think this? Oh, this is what I think," but without like disagreeing. And, maybe you can come to like "Oh, that's a cool idea," or "Oh, I didn't think about it like that." It's just being open-minded and allowing yourself to truly listen to the person, be present with the person, and just have a true conversation without snapping, and be like, "Oh, I don't believe in that," and shutting them down. Because once you do that, then you already, you already broke that. And trust me, that's been tough for me, because I've always grown up being like, "Oh, it's my way or the highway," kind of thing. And so now that I'm embracing the more open-minded things, someone can say something that I don't agree with, and I was like, "Okay." I'll either listen or I'd be like, "Well, I don't agree," but I'm like, I appreciate your, what you say," because I'm like, I don't know, maybe I can actually learn something from it if I really am listening. But if you get triggered, then you're not really gonna get a lot out of the conversation, because you're not gonna be truly listening, if that makes sense. So yeah, with all of our uniqueness, I feel like it can create a more authentic and like stronger bond with people, because I think because we come from all different backgrounds and, pasts and traumas. And I think what the beauty of it is that we can all come together as a community and work together and just talk about things and learn from each other. Because I think when you're open-minded, you learn so much from people and people's experiences or what they've gone through. Because I mean, it's amazing in my opinion. So yeah, just consider like this unconditional love. It's super powerful. When it comes to like practicing unconditional love, it's like listen without judgment, let go of control, like writing in your journal and meditating and just like and being open-minded and like allowing people to be who they are and see that, like, change your perspective on them. Like, maybe look at what they're like, and go, "Oh, really, I really like, how they're this way," or "I really like how they're that way," instead of immediately going to the negative. So it's like everyone has some sort of positives in them. So like take a look at that like first, instead of going straight into the negative. And it's like you'll begin to like create the love, unconditional love for others in a practical sense. And it's just like, I think it's so beautiful, honestly. Oh, yeah. Also, it's like focusing on gratitude and maybe writing like gratitude of what you're grateful about them, or like what are the positives that like yeah, like write in your journal, like what are the positives or what are you grateful for them? Or like, what have they taught you? Or, what is something that you could like really dive in and then just like hold on to that. And then I just think yeah, I think that's one of the bigger ones for sure is like gratitude for that person. And another thing is just on a regular, like forgive yourself and forgive others. And just, even if someone has hurt you, like forgive, forgive them, you know, unconditionally, like just forgive them. Like, I know it, because if you don't create the forgiveness, then you end up like with stored anger, bitterness, resentment, and it's just like gets into this nasty cycle. And then you end up bitter and angry, and it probably isn't even affecting the other person, or they may not even know why you're pissed. And so, or you're upset at them. And so it's like if you don't forgive yourself and others on a regular, then you're just going to be going through life like having these high expectations of people, and those expectations may never be met, if that makes sense. And so, like, I know for sure, like, I was like, well, if they're family, like, they should be at all of our events. And I'm like, and they're like, well, did you invite them? And I was like, well, not officially. So then I'm sitting there mad at this person because they're not at my events when I didn't actually personally ask them like on the phone or text them and be like, hey, it would mean a lot for me for you to come to blah blah blah. Because if I don't communicate that, how do they automatically assume that they need to be there, if that makes sense. So yeah, and it's like that anger can go on for years, and you're like, why am like, I don't want to be around that person because they don't think, they're not thinking about me, and that's a selfish thought. So if we have such high expectations for people, then like we're gonna get let down a lot. And so I honestly just think it's like literally accepting people the way they are, and if is so important. And also like if you want something or you need something, communicate that. If you have desires, wants, and needs, you need to tell the person, because do not expect the person to even like try to guess, like, because most of the time they'll be wrong, and then you'll be mad at them and they won't understand why you're mad. And so it's just like, I trust me, in my past, this was me for sure. And I was like, well, you should know how I'm feeling and you should know if I'm upset. It's just like, it's so like ridiculous to me to think about them now, because I was so like, "Well, they should know." Well, there's no shoulds, like, we can't assume somebody wants or needs things. Trust me, don't get me wrong. There's still, like, some wants, needs, and desires that I still haven't learned how to communicate, and it's just like it's a process. It's just learning how to be comfortable with yourself and having the confidence to open that communication with someone. And like, I understand the difficulty of it because I still like fight and struggle with that. So it's like, I'm not perfect, of course, but I've started to learn over the years that if I don't have expectations on other people, things go so much nicer and so much more peaceful. And it's like, wouldn't you want like content, like being fulfilled, peace in your life? Like, wouldn't you want love and just that feeling of acceptance and community? And it's like, it's so light feeling and like enlightening at the same time. And it's just so powerful, in my opinion. The main thing is like unconditional love and empowerment through love. And just it's like, give the chance of like creating peaceful relationships and, great conversations and open-minded conversations, and just allowing people to be, their free selves without like people having to walk on eggshells or worrying about what they're going to say. And, you know, sometimes like, yeah, maybe things are not appropriate at the time, but it is what it is sometimes. And just if it's uncomfortable for you, you either have a conversation with them or you walk away. And so it's just like, just remember, like, you can create your own peace and love in relationships without expectations, without judgment, without any any restrictions with because if you try to change somebody, they're gonna reject that and it'll push you away. Or if you try to control them, they will or manipulate them, they will see through that and they'll not you won't have the true love and like powerful connection like you could, if that makes sense. Unconditional love creates peace in relationship and strengthens relationships. Like without that judgment and without that expectation and all that criticalness, like you can have such a empowering relationship. It just yeah, it would blow your mind. Another thing to think about is I encourage you to like work on yourself, like work on like your inner self, like creating the love for yourself such that somebody will see you being so much love that they may go, "Oh, how are you doing blah blah blah?" or how are you so happy?" Cuz people will be attracted to you if they see you lead by example, if that makes sense. And so if it's almost like you'll be magnetic to them and they'll be like, "Well, I want to have that. I want to be that," And so they'll probably come to you and ask you for that instead of you trying to force it down their throat or trying to change them. Because if you lead by example, people will follow you. And it's just super powerful. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Like, what inspires you about this video or what would encourage you to, what kind of steps would you take, or do you find yourself struggling with the unconditional love and accepting people the way they are? Like what yeah, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear more about from you and about you. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more info. Let's rise like a phoenix and strive for unconditional love. I love you.